Hello, this is Marshall Zhukov, and here we are together again on YouTube. It's been a while. Yeah, it has. But we remember when I featured this on a video of mine not too long ago. Shooting it with my buddy. And I had expressed my desire to acquire one. And it turns out this is that one that we were shooting, and I guess he wanted to get rid of it, so we did a little trading, if you will, and I lost a few but gained one, which is alright. I needed to make a little bit of space in the safe anyway, so I'm going to do my best at taking one of these apart. They look a little complex, but I think with a little bit of practice it should come naturally and shouldn't be much of a problem. But very interesting design. I do want to find a bayonet for one of these, and I guess we're about ready to get started. So, I know one of the first things you're going to have to do is put your lever to the right. Of course, you're going to make sure there's nothing in it. It's unloaded. And we're going to have to remove the magazine for this. There we go. That's a good start. Move this a little bit forward. We'll pop our safety lever here in the rear to the center position. And as predicted, that's supposed to come right out. In and out. Slides in and comes right out just like that. Looks good. So, we'll just set that aside for right now. And our bolt comes out with the housing on it just like that. I'm going to need to try to move a few things out of the way here maybe. But it's an interesting design. This other muzzle brake that's on it, I'm not sure if that's even supposed to be there. I don't know. I think I'll end up taking that off anyways. It appears to be some type of aftermarket setup. Exactly what it's doing on there, I'm not sure. But it's being held in place, but not for much longer anyways. So let me get this bolt separated here, and we'll go from there. So this is our whole assembly here. The rear portion of the bolt here will lift out and then slide forward and come free. Now this is not really tricky, but something you want to be aware of, and watch where you're pointing this thing in case there's somebody else around. But you're going to want to point it down towards your workbench, block of wood or whatever, you know, get some rags or something, some towels, put underneath it. And then what we're going to end up doing is pushing our little button here, basically, our little lever. And the rest of the bolt is under quite a bit of spring tension. So we'll want to go easy with that when we take it off. So these are the two parts to the bolt and the housing, and these the spring is interesting with this. It's a, you might be able to see down through there, it's a hollow guide rod that goes in here, so we can see the amount of spring tension it's under, and it is quite a bit of pressure, so you're going to want to hang on to it good and tight and make sure it doesn't go winging off somewhere that it shouldn't be. And then reassembly is really easy. You put the parts back together and basically just shove it back on, and it'll click right in place on the little lip there, and And that's that for the bolt. Barrel band removal is pretty simple. It just lifts up from underneath the spring there and slides off. Something to pry it up is probably going to be helpful. And then there's a screw in the front of this one that comes out, and this is a two-piece part of the band that is easier to take apart with more than one hand. But that's the gist of it anyways, and then we'll get this handguard taken off. Then the handguard will lift up slightly and pull forward with the front side up just to have a little clearance. Works the easiest. There are 3 screws that hold in the trigger assembly, and once those are unscrewed, then the assembly will lift right out. It's really pretty simple and easy enough to get in there and get some stuff cleaned out. A little bit grimy, not too bad. And then our stock will also come off. But I'll leave it for the moment. I guess we can take a look at what we got here. It doesn't look too bad, I guess. A little bit grimy, that's all. Should clean up pretty nice. But for right now, I want to get in and investigate this gas system. We've got our gas tube here, and our adjustment valve. So it looks like there's a spring that's missing for the adjustment valve. But anyways, we'll get in here with a little wrench. We'll undo the locking nut, and then we'll back this out and just check it, make sure it's not all super rusty or anything, and we'll go from there. So the gas tube is pretty easy to remove. You just need a little crescent wrench. On this tube, there are some flat cutouts on here so you can get the wrench on there nice and easy. You'll have to back the nut off. I've actually screwed it towards the front, but you're going to have to back this nut off just a little bit so you can unscrew the tube. And the tube will exit in this direction, but the locking nut's going to have to be removed for the tube to be completely removed. So I'll remove the nut, remove the tube, inspect the tube, and it looks pretty good from what I can see. Don't see a lot of rust or anything around it, so that's a good sign, I think. Alright, see if we can't get a look down the tube here. It looks pretty good. Doesn't look bad at all. I haven't even cleaned this yet. Just do a quick little wipe down, I guess. Get the threads cleaned up and wipe this down just a little bit here near the end. We'll see what if we can get the camera look in there. Might not. There we go, that's a little better. That looks pretty good, even though the tube comes in there. Looks good and clean. So that's basically the complete stripping of the Egyptian Hakim. Now, one thing I did notice when somebody put it together, now my buddy said he never took it apart, so I would assume this isn't his doing, it's somebody else, previous owner possibly. There's these little pegs in the stock that were supposed to help keep the handguard in place. Either somebody didn't know it, couldn't get him to line up, or whatever the case. Just broke the stock a little bit, I guess. You know, no big deal. Not worried about it. I think we can get them all lined up, and they should be fine in there, in the right spot. But at any rate, the handguard's still being held in place by the two barrel bands as well, so shouldn't have any issues with that. Interesting method of fastening the sight. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be more than one of these on here or not. Looks like possibly there could have been at one time. I don't know. Interesting. Not too bad, I guess. Kind of resembles a little bit like an SKS, but of course it's not piston driven or piston operated. But just a quick look down in the stock here. Yeah, a little grimy. No worries, should turn out pretty good. It does look like there's supposed to be two of those. There's two cutouts in the stock for probably the bottom of the little band there with the screws, so well, may have to try to find a couple parts for it. Hard to say, but it shot fine when we shot it, so I don't know. I guess maybe the little bit concerning thing is it does appear that there is part of the spring, or a spring part that's supposed to go on there that should be there that's not there, that keeps some tension on the adjustment valve. But I'll have to look into that more, and of course if anybody else can provide any more information about it, anything would be helpful. It's not very hard to take apart. It's a lot less complicated than it looks, I guess. So we'll get everything cleaned up and then start the reassembly. So it does indeed turn out I'm missing a couple of parts. There's supposed to be another one of these that goes here, and there's a little flat spring looking thing that goes on the top of this that's supposed to help keep the plug from turning. So whatever happened to those, I don't know, but I think I've got a line on some parts. I sent some emails, and we'll see what happens in the next few days. So I guess this will be part 1, the disassembly, and then part 2, the reassembly, will commence once everything arrives, parts arrive, and we'll go from there. So for now, Marshall Zhukov signing out.